Well, let me just maybe explain it, and then we can go
Yeah, sure.
over more in depth. So
Yeah.
each of these points, right? Yes, they're considered steps, but they're also considered state points, right?
Yeah.
Um, so each of them has a state snapshot,
Yes,
right?
sure, sure.
So I think what this should have for the state snapshot, we should show the state here,
Okay,
right? So when they click on something, they go into a new state snapshot,
okay,
right?
okay.
So I think the important thing is that the line between them also matter. So let's say I'm just gonna do like, for example, instantiate, right?
Ah,
From
okay.
so this is the concept that I want to highlight is that maybe we have an icon or something, right? Or something like we have an icon that
Mm-hmm.
shows something new, right? So maybe noun project, say new, right?
Mm-hmm.
We what is something called new? Maybe this
Yes, yes,
for now.
yeah.
Um, here, just size it down. But yeah, like this would be the instantiate icon, for instance.
Yes,
Remember, this is just for illustrating the concept.
yes, yes, sure.
Right. So then we have
Ah,
like something
yes,
there,
got it,
right? And
got it.
maybe this should be, it should have like, it should indicate that it's clickable as well. So maybe we can have a thickness like 2, and then, this should kind of be clickable.
Okay.
Um,
So William, one question here. So the icon between the two circles, it indicates that the first step from first circle to second circle, it was an instantiate operation, right?
yes.
Okay. So you can click. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Go on. Go on. I do have some
Okay.
questions, but I'll
So
ask
these
it.
are these are the individual states, right? These are the
Mhm.
states. These are
Yeah.
the sort of so if it's like a graph, you have the nodes and you have the vertices, right?
Sure.
If you click
Sure.
the vertex, you get the two nodes it's connected to, and that loads in the states.
Okay. Before and
Does that
after.
make sense? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Before. Yeah. Sure.
Exactly. Because each this is a simple like sort of graph where each it's like simple and linear, right?
Yes.
The topology
Yes.
is not complex, so then we know that for each like link there will
Hmm.
be two connected states, right?
Sure.
And then there will be a notion of before and after. So we'll use this notion to sort of define like what these buttons are. So let me just make one for execute. What do you think?
Yeah. Sure. So
Lightning.
lightning. Yeah. That's actually understandable. Uh, so one question here, William. Right. When you click on any particular circle, it takes you to that particular state. But
Yes.
can you perform an execute operation on that particular state?
I think you can perform an execution from that state, like, starting from
Mhm.
that state and then move
Okay.
forward, right? So
So
this would be an
but
execute.
okay. So
So
let
this,
me.
it would kind of overwrite the history.
Okay. So just for an example, let's say we have increment function, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I did increment 4 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the current value of count is 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
I move to 2, right?
Yeah.
And then again perform an execute operation.
Yeah.
So how will you reset the state of the blockchain when you
I
are?
think the rest will be overwritten. So we'll have like a modal that says, do you want to replay the rest, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Ah,
I think they should have like a chain sequence.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think this is sort of like very um
Redux. So if you have seen Redux, like it does similar thing, right?
yeah,
You can
like for
reset.
example, okay, let's do an example. So these are the executes, right? because you can only instantiate once,
Yes.
right? So if you click here, and then you can instantiate
Again.
again, and then
Okay.
this would wipe out everything and then get you to this state.
Yes. Makes
Right.
sense. Makes sense. Yeah. But if you are on, let's say, fourth circle, and after this also you perform an execute operation, right? But you want to switch back to second execute operation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so I think that's what I meant by dry run and run.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you think it might be possible to have, since this is a sort of graph thing right here, do you think it's possible to have this? Do you think it makes sense to have it as its own section of a component, or do you think it makes sense to have like a different view?
No, I think it should be a component itself here, like as you've shown, because it will help
Mhm.
people to understand which state they are currently on, and they
Right.
can also move back and forth, right? So
Right.
that would be, yeah. I think
Right.
this make lot of sense, William. As a user, it will make a lot of sense to me. The
Yeah.
only thing is how do we implement it very seamlessly? So yeah,
Yeah. So let me give you a quiz, right? So
yeah.
imagine I'm going on this right now, right? I have done a couple executions, right?
Mhm.
And I've done a couple executions. Let's see. Okay. So I've done a couple executions, and so I'm currently on this state, right? So these
Okay.
don't exist yet.
Mhm.
So what happens when I click on this? Like what?
Yeah. So
What?
basically, you'll be shown the state of third and fourth.
Right.
Uh,
Third would be here,
yeah,
and
and fourth
fourth
would
would
be
be here.
that
Right.
is before and after. Yeah, sure.
Correct. And then also I should have the execute message that I wrote,
Mhm.
right? So it
Yes.
should be here, and then the response that was logged here.
Okay,
Does that
makes
make
sense.
sense? So
That
then
makes sense.
when I click on these buttons, right? These
Okay.
only cycle through the state, and then
Yes.
these like maybe it doesn't show anything, right? But when I
So
click on a link, I should
Mhm.
see what I filled in for the execute. Um,
Mhm. Makes sense. Makes
this
sense.
is what I was thinking. This is what I was thinking. Maybe when I click the state,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a difference because when I click the state, I can also hit query, right? So I can't hit query. So when I can execute from these points, right?
Okay. Yeah, but you can also query from these points, can't
That's
you?
correct. I can execute or query from these points. If I'm loading here and I execute, then it means that I'm thinking about this one, right?
Yeah.
So
So William, let's name it T and T plus one. So when you're on T and you're querying
mhm.
the blockchain, right? So you will
The contract, not blockchain.
sorry, yeah, the contract, right? So
Mhm.
you'll be querying the T state of the contract, right? Not the T
Yeah.
plus one.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. So we need to store it so we have to store everything in a single context. In like that particular state context, we have to store everything for that particular state, right?
Right. Right.
Okay,
So
makes sense.
what is stored at the state? The state is, I think each data point has a state, but
Yes.
each like link is like an execution, right? So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
execution would have like a different list, right? And then it will tell which states it's bound to, like before and after.
After. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. I think I should do a POC on top of this, William. Like just a rough two
Mhm.
circles and going back and forth and seeing how it how it look. I think
Mhm.
this make a lot of sense when we are thinking right now. So let's because I've understood it like bits and pieces. I think I've understood it somewhat because
Mhm.
if I understand it correctly, there would be icons, there would be execute icons, there would be query icons, there would be states. You can
Mhm.
go back and forth from states. You can execute and query a particular state, right?
Yeah.
So those are the functionalities. Yeah, I think it's pretty much clear. Uh,
Okay, cool. Um, do you think you can create the component?
yes, sure, I can print the component. Really. For your
Cool.
like talking about the timeline part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can do that. Also, William, I think on the current design, can you? Okay, you don't have it running, right? So
No.
okay, if can you share like the image that the image I shared with you last time in the like Slack? If you open it,
Sure. Where is it? Dev? Is it in dev? Which channel is it? Hello? Hello?
hey William, sorry, actually there was a power cut, so my router was touched.
Hey, yeah, which channel was it in?
Yeah, it was in dev, I guess. If you scroll it up, bit up, no, on the yeah, more above it. Yeah. Not this, not this.
Here?
Yes, yeah. So I'm thinking on the first place, the place you show me, right? We can have the timeline on top, right? On the top part,
Yes. Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
we can have the executing query in the next content
Mm-hmm.
block where I have the text box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can show the state output next to in the next block where I have execute output query output in current state.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they will be console intact. So we will just replace the two content box with the design you have, and I think it will
Yes.
make a lot of
Yes.
sense.
Because right here you have the input and here's the output, right? I think the input
Exactly.
and output, they can be shown side by side.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then we can switch between execute and query. We
Yes.
should have buttons instead of pressing this, right? We should have
Yeah.
buttons.
Yeah.
And then, because this is for navigation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should have buttons, and we should also. What do you think about instantiate, William? Should there be an instantiate button, or there should be a menu item for instantiate or navigation? Like,
I think there shouldn't be a menu item for instantiate. I think there should just be an interact. And
okay.
instantiate, I think it happens in the beginning, right? So I think
Yes.
they'd have to click here to instantiate, and then these would be replaced with instantiate.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
What do
So
you
we
think?
should have. Yeah, that is actually. I mean, better UX actually, because when the first the contract is loaded, you give a button of instantiate, and when they
Right.
click on instantiate, you replace it with execute in query in the very next moment, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yes,
Okay,
we can
let's
do that.
number these as well. Like this should be 0, 1, right? And
Mhm.
then we should label the left and right parts of the state section.
Sure, sure, we'll do that. Can you share this link with me, William? It's okay enough. I don't think we need more refinement on this.
I can copy the link.
Sure.
Send it to you. Yeah. So you get the rough idea on how this UX flow is
Yes,
supposed to go.
yes, I do. I do. I already had this in mind, William, when you
Mm-hmm.
posted the dragger and this execute query text box.
Yeah.
I did understood it, the bits and pieces, but yeah, I think this session helped me a lot.
I think like pressing these two, like we don't need to make it slider. I think it's better to have it like
Stepper.
just
Yeah,
stepper. And
yeah.
then the link in between, I think that's important. The links in betweens are clickable. Maybe
Mhm.
we can even do a tooltip, like
Yes.
it shows you the execute message or whatever.
So, William, one question here. So you
Yeah.
have icon in between two circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The icon is basically an image or it's a button? Is it clickable? Because
It's clickable, yeah. I think it
I
should be
think
clickable. Well,
okay. Why do you
like
think that?
like
Because
because mouse over. Let's do a mouse over like hover, and this is like instantiate, for instance.
But aren't we talking about, let's say you go to second circle and then we have execute and
Yeah, I
query
mean,
also.
why don't these two form one component, like the link and the icon underneath?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so then
Okay.
it shows that when you're clicking the icon, it's also clicking this
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 basically
line.
yes,
Yeah.
this basically fetches you the before state and
Yes.
after state, right? That's basically it.
And it loads the execution message as
Exactly,
well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it basically loads the state at that particular point of time, the full state.
So when you click this thing, it loads two states. It loads the before and after.
Exactly, exactly. And the circles are not clickable, only the
The
links
circles are
between them are.
clickable. The
So,
circles are clickable because they allow you to move between states, right?
okay.
So this
Okay.
would just have like empty, maybe
Yes,
empty. Yeah.
got it. Got it. Got it.
Or it might have like, for example, if you click this thing, it loads the instantiate message that was instantiated, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. I think yeah, it does make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
I think yeah, we should definitely try it out. I'll try it out.
Okay. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty rough and unrefined, right?
Yes.
But I think in the next iteration, it's going to be like, at least we're inching closer toward like a, something that I can use, something
Yes.
that I can play
Exactly.
around with and explore. For example, the execution history, play around with time. I think
Yes.
this is a good like version of the log. This is a good
Mhm.
visualization of the log, right?
Yeah, I think we should also use whenever we're making contracts, William, we should also
Hmm.
use it internally, the tool internally to get the better understanding of the tool
Yes.
so that we can actually, if there are any like flaws or some improvements are needed, we can actually rectify them within.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think this would be very useful for like even just this interface. As unpolished as it can be,
Yes.
it can be very useful for the stuff that I'm working on, which is
Mhm.
creating a language, seeing that the language is producing output, and then testing that output. Yeah, seeing the state.
Mhm.
Eventually, later, I'm gonna have like hooks and memory inspection, right? Maybe in this
Mhm.
section, right?
Mhm.
So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I
cool.
think
And then
that,
for the console, just leave the console out for now.
yeah. I think William, over there we can just put whatever you executed, like you did execution, we can put execution successful at this particular time, and that like just like a VS Code console
Yeah, I
that
think
would.
you should be able to summon it. Like you know how like Chrome Dev Tools, you have to
Mhm.
kind of like do that to kind of inspect it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
do you think um maybe there
Mhm.
should be some view options? Yeah, I think we can think about that later, but I think this is the simplest thing
Exactly.
version of the tool that we can use.
Yes, and yeah, yeah, that makes complete sense. William. That makes complete sense. I think it will help people, William, because the contracts, as you said, they are like difficult to debug and using Rust and setting
Right.
up everything.
Right.
Right. So it
So
would be
this
very.
should help them at least visually traverse the history.
Mhm.
Maybe I mean, right now it's not very easy to use to test with, but it's
Mhm.
easly to interact with, right? And then
Exactly.
kind of see the history of your interactions and how that changes each state, right?
Mhm. Sure. Looks
Cool.
like really interesting project. Yeah.
Cool. It seems like you understand it. All right.
Yeah.
Shall I pass it on to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Cool. Do you have any other questions?
No, regarding this, not really. Just yeah, I think this is pretty much clear. And I think Luke has also joined in, William. So I think we have sufficient bandwidth now to work on the compiler as well.
Yeah. I'm working on the compiler with him. Yeah.
Sure. I
Yeah.
think so. So these two projects are getting done in parallel. We could say
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. That definitely improves our chances of like raising another round very soon.
Yeah. I think we're going to postpone raising until we have like tangible products. that we can demo. I think we're the compiler. I think we're kind of stuck on one point, which is so we have everything on the source language. Now we have to focus on the target language, right? Because we have all the parsing done, we have like all the verification, pretty much like syntax highlighting, whatever. So the language is designed, but we have not really well spec'd out the target output. So basically, we're going to focus on the target output and then use a couple weeks to bridge them together, right? And then we should have a working system.
Sure thing. Sure. I think William, you were in one of the meetings. Is it being recorded, William? Okay, it's
Yes.
recorded.
Yeah.
I think we can end the recording. So like.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah. So William, I